Greetings and welcome. My name is Jake Rayson. I am a wildlife and food forest garden designer, and I'm back on the live streaming wagon, which is brilliant. So today I just wanted to talk about some design considerations for a particular job that I'm working on, and it's a kind of tricky one. So I just want to. It's interesting as well, just what the layout of the land is. So I'm just going to explain very quickly what the job is. I use a service called Cloudinary, which is fabulous for storing images. So I've got a lot of my kind of client photographs on here, and then it's easy to reference them then as well and include them in notes. So I've drawn a schematic of the whole site, and this is actually really useful because the garden that the bed that I'm working on is just this bed here, but it relates to the whole site. So what is so important when you're designing is to design from the perspective of the user, this or the person who's using that space. And I say person, I can also mean if you're designing a wildlife garden, you're looking at various other life forms rather than just humans. So for this garden, the house, there's a footpath at the parking just in front of the house. Footpath comes down at the bottom. Can I zoom in? Yeah. Footpath comes in down at the bottom, and your entrance into the house. But the actual garden, this is the bed here that I'm working on, and that relates to the house. It relates to there's a patio which is northwest facing, and so it relates to that, and it relates to the space when you come out onto the lawn down the steps out of there's a rain room out here. And then it also relates to the path as well. And then what I think is really useful is to put in the main flows of of pedestrian access across the whole of the site, and then you can see from what other angles. So the most important angle really is from the patio. So that's why I've rotated the design to face that. So this is the view down here, and the secondary view really is from that footpath. And then you can also access the garden down on the right hand side as well. So those are the kind of three kind of key views, and then you come round the back of it here. So that's kind of interesting. Really kind of interesting way of approaching any kind of garden design is to put it into context and then put it into relationship. And so often as well, it's in relationship to the house. There are other aspects to this house, but which is out the scope of this particular project, like how the space is being used around to the east of the house and also to the south of the house as well. And there's a vegetable garden that there's lots of other kind of possibilities and projects, but to get an overview of how they all tie together, and that's using paths. And I think this is a really good way of approaching the initial approach to design. And then the next thing then is just to get some idea from the photographs. This is a view of the house in the front. This is the patio, and the garden is just to the left, and that's the bed here. Now the big kind of issue is that there was a shed just past this. This is a weeping crab apple. Just past there's a big slab of concrete in the ground, and the big kind of issue is I don't know what's going to happen when you take that out. How much space there will be, what condition the soil will be in, and there's also a lot of blackthorn root all the way along this bank here, and there's large numbers of boulders as well. So rather than moving all the aggregate, the concrete and the boulders off site, what I've said is again, this is a lot of not knowing, is to build a gabion kind of retaining wall for this bank, and there's a big pond on the other side, the original mill pond on the other side, to build a retaining wall down here and use that material in that. So firstly, you're shoring up the bank, then you're creating habitat for wildlife. It's also a feature. They can look stunning, and it's a way of not having to remove aggregate off site. So there's got lots of reasons to do it. But exactly what, this is the kind of the problem with the detail of the design at this stage, exactly what is you don't know, because you haven't done that particular bit of work. So that's what I've kind of said to the client as well, is I've got ideas about what to do. So this kind of foreground here, I've got another sketch here. This is like an overlay. Oh, where's the overlay gone? Oh, here we go. Yeah, but this foreground area here is to put. It's not a very good sketch actually. Make it a pollinator area and possibly like a focal point. So with the gabions on the right hand side, focal point in the middle, and then you're using that area. It gets full sun from the south, which is just to the left, goes across, and then that's the kind of planting to do. But again, don't know what the soil is and don't know what the space is. It's not, yeah, you really need to see what's happened afterwards, get the gabions in and design it then, just in terms of a specific planting plan. So I've got ideas. So let me see if they're any better. Not, yeah. Basically, let's see if, I think this one's a better one here. Basically, is to have a hawthorn or a North American hawthorn, Amelanchier, or cornus in the top right hand corner here. There's a silver birch, a Himalayan birch up here, and then 3 kind of shrubby bushes, crabapple here, and then wildflowers in the front. So it's more woodland at the back, and then it's kind of herbaceous perennials towards the front. And again, if we can reuse that material in terms of like using different growing mediums, then it alters what you can grow. So for example, thyme and wild thyme is a fantastic bee plant, but don't put wild thyme into into thick clay, because it won't like it and it won't grow and it'll get out competed. Whereas you put it into crushed concrete, it gets good drainage, and it should do well. It's in full sun, it should do well. And likewise with the gabions. I mean, yeah, there's stuff you can do, but you don't know until you've got the material to hand. So it's a bit like that, a bit on the fly. So there we go. So that's that particular, the design considerations for approaching this particular project. So I hope that's useful. Thank you very much for watching, and see you again soon. Cheers, bye.